So I'm joined by my friend Sam. She's asked me round to have a look at her stunning houseplant. That's a really lovely specimen you've got there.
This is my favourite, David,
Yeah.
because it's incredibly resilient.
Yeah.
So if you do forget to water it, as I often do, it still continues to thrive. And
it's plastic. It's plastic.
It's plastic.
I'm sorry, that's out of the window. Why not ride the wave of the trend of houseplants, Sam, and have something real and try and nurture something and grow it rather than, yeah?
If you think
It's
I'm
possible.
capable.
It's possible. Okay.
Yeah.
The next best thing to a plastic plant is that one there.
This.
You like that?
Now, I've seen a lot of these because I know that this is a succulent.
Yep.
And they're very, very fashionable at the moment. I've seen them absolutely everywhere for extraordinary amounts of money.
So there are cacti and succulents, all right? So cacti tend to be the spiky ones, the dollopy spiky ones. Succulents tend to be the ones with more leaves on. And those succulent leaves mean that they're very drought tolerant.
Okay, that's exactly what I need.
I think so too. And that will suit a kitchen windowsill, full sun, and then periodically you give it a quick dip in some tepid water in the kitchen sink, allow it to drain, and then stand it back on the windowsill.
Very straightforward.
Really good. So those are the things that are really, really popular at the moment, all the succulents. Then we've got the other extreme, which are the things that really need a lot more care and don't need to dry out, because if they do, they'll turn to shriveled brown mess. And that's things like this maidenhair fern. So this has got very, very thin leaves. If you hold those up to the light, you can see the light coming through them because they're very, very fine. And these need constant amounts of moisture and lots of humidity around the foliage. So perfect place for this is a nice bathroom or shower room where it gets that blast of high humidity when you have the shower in the morning or the evening, and then that will keep it going for the rest of the day. And then once or twice a week, give it a good spurt of water around the compost at the base of the plant, and that will keep it going.
So I could just squeeze my flannel out onto that.
Yeah, as long as there was no detergent or soap in it. You know, the flannel trick is a good one. But nice, dark, shady, shade-loving plant, high humidity. Then sort of intermediate houseplants are these two. So the spathiphyllum there, which you've tried before. I know you've had some success with those.
This is a peace lily.
Yeah.
And I first came across it in that film, Hot Fuzz. So my entire expertise around this plant is based
on the film. Yeah.
But I have had a bit of success with the peace lily, and I have managed to keep it going.
And where have you had that peace lily growing?
I actually had it in a north-facing study.
So the interesting thing about that is that this plant comes from the tropical rainforest, and it grows down on the florist floor, and that means that it can cope with very low light levels. So hence why it's thriving in your north-facing study.
Purely by chance.
But there we are. Now that you know, you can make sure you don't move it to a sunny place.
Okay, so don't move to a sunny spot.
So the good thing about peace lilies is that foliage will look good all year round, and then these space of flower that are produced periodically, once they're over, cut them right down to the bottom and just keep the foliage. So it's a really good foliage plant. The key with all of these foliage plants is to give them a plunge into some water, perhaps once a week. So fill the kitchen sink up with some tepid water, not freezing cold, but tepid water. Plunge the pot into the water, let it soak some up for, say, 10 or 15 minutes. Stand it on the draining board, let that free water drain away, and then pop it back where you want to display it. And do that once a week. You could make it your Sunday morning plunge. There we are. That's a good one. And then allow it to drain, as I say, so that the plant isn't left sitting in water. The key thing with all houseplants is don't leave them sitting in water because they don't like it. Okay? And then one that's very similar is this Begonia. So this is another foliage plant growing mostly for its leaves, but it does produce flowers every so often. So this Begonia is a really good deep colour, great for a very pale room, whereas the greens will suit most interior decoration, but this is really good in a white painted room because it shows up all that beautiful architectural foliage really well. So again, the similar sort of treatment to the peace lily, thrives in low light conditions, medium light conditions, but the key thing with all of these foliage plants is don't put them too close to a radiator during the winter because that will dry out and desiccate the foliage.
Okay.
And then
so
another.
That's a weekly plunge as well.
So this is a weekly plunge, like all your foliage houseplants, weekly plunge. So the ferns need more moisture, so perhaps twice a week. The other foliage plants like this need once a week, and then the succulents, they don't need very much water at all. So every couple of weeks with that, and when it gets really dry. But another plant that I know that you've had mixed success with is the orchid. So these look really exotic and beautiful flowers, and they're really good value because a bunch of flowers you pay 20-25 quid for, but these are about 12-16 pounds depending on where you buy them. A couple of spikes of flower, they'll go on for about 6 to 8 weeks, but then don't throw them away, keep them, because if you cut the stems back when the flowers die off, you'll get another shoot that will come from these little buds on the stems. Can you see that?
Yes.
And a new shoot will come out of there, and you'll get more flowers. So these again need the plunge treatment. Plunge it into a tepid water and allow it to drain after it's soaked up. Again, do that once a week or so. And the other thing that you might notice is that these plants, they've got some aerial roots sticking out of the pot. These plants are epiphytes in the wild, which means that they grow in the clefts of trees. They don't grow in soil. So this is bark mixture that it's growing in. Some of those aerial roots are coming out. Don't chop those off, leave them on. And you'll also see that it's growing in a clear pot. And that clear pot is to allow the light to get into the roots of the plant, because the roots need light as well as moisture. So the thing that you shouldn't do with these is to put them in a very tight fitting pot cover, because that will exclude the light. You're nodding as if that sounds a bit familiar.
I feel that all of the things I've been doing wrong are coming to light now. And the other thing with the orchid is, you know, that root ball does seem quite tight, and so I've often thought I should be moving it into a bigger...
It doesn't happen in the wild. In the wild, they haven't got very much space at all, so these roots just go round and round and round, gradually build up in the cleft of the tree. So, you know, you don't need to repot it, so don't worry, it will last like that for years. The only thing that it would need, because this is becoming exhausted, is some plant food every so often. So get some orchid food and give it the occasional burst of orchid food, and it should be fine.
Okay.
So there we are.
I can see how.
So which one is your favourite?
Better.
Which one is your favourite then?
Oh, I like them all. I really love the orchid, but the flowers don't last long enough.
Not forever.
Not forever.
But they will come back.
I know. When will they come back?
Well, probably 6 to 8 months. You'll get another flush of flowers.
6 to 8 months?
Yeah. But houseplant isn't just for Christmas, remember?
No, but you see, look, this one's my friend. I think I'm going to have the best chance of keeping this one alive.
And it's the one that's most similar to the plastic one that you had at the start.
I'm so sorry.